This is the article a day, building background knowledge and vocabulary live webinar. Before we dive in, I do have some housekeeping notes to share. You can follow along with me on the screen. You're muted and your video is off, and this will be the case for the remainder of this webinar. At the right side of your screen, you will see icons like the ones on the screen that I'm circling. So this first icon here, that's the poll. Thank you so much to those of you who have already interacted with the poll and answered the poll question. If you haven't done so yet, please do so. It's really helpful for me to know more about your experience with using Article a Day if this is your first time. Then we'll also see the chat button on the right. Thank you so much for those of you who have introduced yourselves in the chat. If you haven't done so yet, please just let us know where you're joining us from and the grade levels that you work with. And then you'll see the Ask a Question button at the right side. So as I continue with this webinar, you may have a question, and sometimes the chat can be very busy and we don't want to lose any important questions. So please be sure to ask a question through the Ask a Question button and not just put it in the chat. Finally, this webinar is being recorded and you will receive a copy of it as well as a PD certificate at the email address that you use to register for this webinar. All right, here is our agenda for today. Many of you are new to ReadWorks, and many of you, this is your first live webinar with us. And so I'll take a moment to give some background information on who we are. Then we'll discuss the impact of background knowledge and how Article a Day can support your students. And then I'll also demo on the website and just show you how to create that free account, how to start searching for and assigning Article a Day. And I'll also be giving you a look at what the student view looks like versus the teacher view. Before I continue, I'm going to just take a look at the poll right now. I see that most of you have indicated that you are not familiar with the Article a Day routine. So I'm very happy that you are here. All right. So what is ReadWorks? What is most important is that we are a nonprofit ed tech organization, and what we provide to you is free. It's always been free. And our hope is that you share this broadly. We want all teachers to have access to all that we have to offer. So we focus on two goals. We help students grow their background knowledge and vocabulary while engaging in effective reading practice. Through reading, they're gaining powerful background knowledge and vocabulary that supports them to become better readers. It's a powerful cycle of practice. And as far as the resources we provide, we have an ever-growing library of thousands of high-quality and diverse nonfiction and fiction passages. We have vocabulary supports and activities, text-dependent question sets, brand new decodables, differentiation features to personalize for each of your students, such as audio, step reads, ebooks, and finally, teacher guidance. And taking a deeper look, I want to let you know that our products are backed by research. And what this means is we build on existing research, best practices in the classroom for students to learn to read. And we also research our impact in order to constantly improve our products for you. Frequent use of ReadWorks drives positive reading outcomes. That is why we exist. Our digital differentiation tools help students confidently and successfully tackle challenging reading. And then finally, ReadWorks' positive impact persists across all socioeconomic subgroups. And this is why ReadWorks products are free and will always be free. We want everyone to have access to this. Quick reminder that this is being recorded. You will receive a copy of this recording along with a certificate of completion at the email address that you use to register for today's webinar. All right, now let's get into the impact of background knowledge. So I'm sure that you are all familiar with the baseball study by Recht and Leslie of 1988. And since then, it's been replicated and studied over the years. And the findings from this study have been confirmed over time. And so the study set students up in the 4 groups that you see here on the screen. And based on testing in the classroom, students were split into 2 groups at first. So high reading ability and low reading ability. And then from there, students were split up into groups based on their knowledge of baseball. So here we see high knowledge high knowledge of baseball, low knowledge of baseball. And so the participants were asked to read a text about baseball, and then their comprehension of the text was assessed right after. Before I show you the results, I want you in the chat to type the color of the group that you think tested the highest and maybe even the second highest. So thinking about the comprehension assessment that they would have done being asked about baseball, which group do you think performed the highest and then the second highest? Thank you, Erin. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your responses. Let's take a look. So here are the results. And not surprisingly, the yellow group, so high reading ability and high knowledge of baseball, they did do the best. However, what was surprising was that orange group, right? So low reading ability and high knowledge of baseball. And they outperformed the other groups, including another high reading ability group. So, the orange group was not that far behind the yellow group too. And so with this knowledge gained through the study and many others like it, we have to think about the level of knowledge readers are bringing with them. And when reading a new text, the level of knowledge that readers are bringing with them when reading a new text and how this knowledge supports their reading. So let's discuss the biggest takeaways from this study. All comprehension is not background knowledge, but in order to activate those reading strategies that we all use as readers, we have to have an entry point into the text. And having background knowledge gives us an entry point. If we can't even begin to understand the words or the subjects, then we can't predict, monitor comprehension, or make inferences effectively. Now let's take a look at the data. Okay, so knowledge is greater than reading skills. A lack of knowledge can negate our ability to use our reading skills. And I'm going to share a quote from Natalie Wexler. Whether or not readers understand a text depends far more on how much background knowledge and vocabulary they have relating to the topic than on how much they've practiced comprehension skills. We also know that more knowledge equals more comprehension. As we build our knowledge, our comprehension is strengthened. Another quote from Natalie Wexler: "Those students with the broadest knowledge have the best chance of demonstrating their comprehension." ReadWorks supplements curriculum to help you broaden that knowledge base and support your students' reading comprehension. Knowledge equals even more knowledge. So this means that the more you know, the easier it will be for you to learn new things. For example, if you already know a little bit about birds, you know that they have wings, then you read about them flying, and that will give you more context about other animals. Other animals cannot fly because they don't have wings, and you build that scaffold of knowledge. We have this evidence of background knowledge. We have evidence that background knowledge matters. So how can we apply that to in the classroom? And this brings us to the value of article sets. Excuse me. Researchers have shown that reading sets of texts that are conceptually or thematically related can be particularly beneficial for building knowledge. And this is the foundation for article a day. Text sets are helpful because as knowledge is built over time, students can understand more and more challenging texts. The weekly article a day sets consist of 6 nonfiction passages that are all related to one topic. And every day, as students read an article, they are building background knowledge over time. As they move through the week, they have more access to the texts and can read more challenging texts on that topic, further increasing their comprehension skills. For early readers and below grade level readers, we do include the option to listen to the article. Teachers can also read these articles to their early readers. That way, students can still gain knowledge and are exposed to key vocabulary. Readers are more likely to encounter words that are key to understanding a topic multiple times. They aren't simply reading a word once and then moving on to another subject. They get to see it again. They get to see related words, synonyms. Research shows that this drives vocabulary more deeply, making the vocabulary words more sticky for the reader, becoming part of their memory and part of their expressive vocabulary, not just receptive. And now I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Article a Day on the ReadWorks website. It's a fast supplement, and students are able to build background knowledge while reading. So I think that this image is very fitting. I must say that as a former teacher, and I used ReadWorks in my classroom, I used the Article a Day routine, and I will say that it fosters a lot of joy and curiosity amongst your students. And I think that the student on the screen perfectly captures the way that many students feel about this resource. So we know that as students feel more successful as readers, they are more likely to read and read more. This ties perfectly to our mission of creating successful and joyful readers. And when used with fidelity, so meaning daily for at least 15 weeks, that's our fidelity goal. Article a Day provides students with an opportunity to talk about and write about what they've learned, how it connects to the world around them, and overall it builds confidence. And they get to become experts in what they're learning and reading. So it's a 10-minute routine. Once you get it up and running, it will take some time in the beginning to build that routine. And the text sets are hand curated. Then students record what they learn. So that's bringing in the reading, the writing, and speaking all together. So let's take a look at the research that we've done on Article a Day. Students showed a 4.7 point or 15% year-over-year gain in ELA test scores across 9 pilot schools. Students increased the length of their Book of Knowledge entries and their use of Tier 2 and 3 vocabulary in a North Carolina pilot study. And in just 10 minutes a day, third graders read an additional 49,500 words in a school year. Michelle shared with us, my fourth graders have gained so much knowledge, so much background knowledge about a wide variety of topics using Article a Day. And Ramona shared, students were more engaged and motivated to read due to the high interest articles. I began to see excitement about reading. So now I would like to take you on a tour of the ReadWorks website to show you how to access this resource. So I'm going to be logging in as a student first, just so you can see what your students would see once you begin assigning Article a Day to them. You'll notice that my eyes are going over to my other screen. I'm still with you, but if I'm looking away from the camera, it's because I'm looking at another screen. So this student was assigned an Article a Day set on ancient inventions. And I'm going to select this passage, but before I do that, you also have the option for how students read the articles, an article a day. So this option is what it looks like when you want students to read the same articles. So let's say you want them to read one article a day and have that discussion. So this would be the best setting for that. I also want to point out some accessibility features on the top of the screen. Students can expand for a more distraction-free view. Students can also adjust the text size. So this is the normal size, medium, large, extra large. You can also add paragraph numbers. You can use a guided reading strip. And you can also use the split screen option. So students can have the text on the left side of the screen while their book of knowledge is on the right side. I also want to point out at the top of the screen, I've selected from my teacher account to include audio. So again, this is a great option to support ELLs, below grade level readers. If you want to support them and just give them an opportunity to listen to the passage if you aren't able to read the passages out loud to them. And I'll just model for you. Let's say the student reads the passage and they want to record what they've learned in the book of knowledge. Until they submit that. And there you have it. I'm going to log back out so I can continue. But that's what your students would be seeing when you assign an article a day passage to them. So now that you've seen the student-facing version, I do want to review the steps involved in the article a day routine. So the first 3 steps can be done independently. Step 1, you set the purpose for reading. That takes less than a minute, and it really builds excitement. You can say, okay, students, this week we're learning about ancient inventions. We know that article a day helps us build our background knowledge and makes our vocabulary stronger. Let's do it. Then step 2, students read or listen to the article from the set of topically connected articles. Then they complete their books of knowledge. And then step 4, there's flexibility around this step, right? So students get a chance to share their knowledge, discuss with one another. And there's flexibility here because it can be part of a daily routine. Maybe it takes place at the end of the week, depending on how much time you may have. It can be a whole group discussion, or you have your students turn and talk with one another. There's a lot of flexibility given some of the time restraints that you might encounter in the classroom. One more thing is that we do recommend using it with fidelity in order to yield the best possible results. And so what that means is 15 or more weeks every day. And then we also provide two scope and sequences to make it easier for you. So now I'm going to log in as a teacher to show you how to access this. So going back to the website, once again, I'm just looking away from the camera because I'm looking at another screen. Perfect. So once you, oh, actually, I'm going to log back out for a second because some of you are new to ReadWorks, and I just want to make sure if you have not yet signed up for a free account, as soon as you go to readworks.org, you can sign up for your free account with this blue button here. It takes less than a minute. It's really quick. Okay, so now you have a login. You can access Article a Day by clicking on the Contents tab right at the top, and then Scope and Sequences. And from there, you can select the grade level. So Article a Day is offered for grades K to 8. Some of you may be teaching students older, right? You could be in high school teaching students who might be performing on this range of grade level. So I do want to just make a note of that. If you want to support students reading below grade level, if they're not in K to 8, you can also use this resource. So I'm going to select 3rd grade, and this will generate a list of 3rd grade level Article a Day sets, and it's already mapped out. We have the scope and sequence, so we've made it easy for you. Let's say, if you're following it with fidelity, which we would encourage, you can directly click on the set and you can assign there, but that would be for the week. Okay, that would be for the week. I'm going to go back and point something else out here. So you can assign from the scope and sequence, and that would allow you to assign the entire month. So I'm going to just show that to you. You have the option of including audio. Then you can include boost or challenge articles. So boost articles are below grade level articles that are still topically connected, and challenge articles are a grade level above. So for example, I'm assigning 3rd grade article a day, a 3rd grade article a day set. So the boost articles would be 2nd grade, challenge articles, 4th grade. And then you can choose how students read. In the version I showed you, the student version, it was students reading the same article. And then from there, you can select your class. And now just zooming back in, let's say you want to print Article a Day. So for me, when I was using it, I would print them. You can simply just go to the print button. And again, you can include those boost or challenge articles in the print option. You can also select if you just want one article versus the whole set. You can include the meaning mapper, so great vocabulary practice here. And this will generate a printable PDF for you. And I really also like that there's a checklist that you can include. So if you're printing out all of the passages, it's a great way for students to keep track. And that brings me to the end of the webinar. My email address is on the screen. Suzanne has been answering your questions throughout the webinar. I'll take a moment to look for any additional questions that might have come up. I want to give you a reminder that you will receive a copy of this recording as well as your certificate of completion and the link to the resources that are also included below with the green button. You will receive, I send that email out within 30 minutes of the live webinars. And so If by tomorrow morning you don't see that email, please check your spam folder. Sometimes that does happen. But I sent out that I typically send out the email within 30 minutes. Okay, so here's a question. We've used single, yeah. So we've used single articles to include comprehension questions with success, and I'd like my class to delve into article a day. Does ReadWorks provide an avenue to pre-assess students so we can collect statistics to compare and track growth? Beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. Roberta, this is a great question, and I can speak from my own personal experience. I often used ReadWorks passages and reading passages and text dependent question sets as a way to informally assess my students. So, what I would do is I would print out different reading passages per grade level and have them ready and use that as a way to informally assess them. So, if you were looking for a great starting point, I would recommend doing that. And you can access the reading passages by going to the content page and selecting reading passages and including a question set in the filter, and then go by grade level and print from there. All right, this person is asking about the scope and sequence. Is it different from article a day? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the scope and sequence here. So we've already done the work of mapping this out. If you were aiming to make the article a day routine a part of your daily classroom routine, this would be a great place to start. So you wouldn't be looking for new things. You can just follow the calendar here. So right now we're in October, right? If you wanted to, I'll select grade 3 again. If you wanted to get this routine up and running, you can assign the entire month's worth if you're using the digital classroom. And you can continue doing that with every month. All right. I see that I've answered the remaining questions. Once again, I want to thank you so much for taking time to join me today. Be on the lookout for that email with a copy of this recording, as well as your certificate of completion. My email is on the screen. Please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.